Please welcome to the stage AERA President Naila Suad Nasir and AERA Executive Director Felice J. Levine.
Well, welcome everyone to the 2022 award ceremony and celebration. It is so really terrific to be with you both in San Diego as well as virtually, to take this moment both to celebrate our award winners, our field, and what we have accomplished. And among the top persons we should be celebrating at this moment is my dear co-host for the evening and partner for more than this year, but definitely for this year, our President, Naila Suad Nasir.
Good afternoon and welcome. It's so wonderful to see you all here and to know that we're also able to host a robust virtual audience. We are here to celebrate some amazing scholars and colleagues in our field this afternoon, and very much looking forward to that. Before we start, though, we'd like to take a moment of silence for those that we have lost from our community this year.
It's always difficult to make the transition, but I would like to officially commence our honorary award ceremony with our first award, the 2022 Outstanding Book Award.
The 2022 Outstanding Book Award goes to Dr. Jarvis R. Givens for his book Fugitive Pedagogy, Carter G. Woodson and the Art of Black Teaching. This book is a groundbreaking analysis of the Black teaching tradition as a subversive act rooted in history and characterized by fugitivity. In Fugitive Pedagogy, Givens carefully traces a compelling line from the memory of self-liberation from enslavement to the life and career of Dr. Carter G. Woodson, founder of Negro History Week, the progenitor of Black History Month. In doing so, Givens more than fulfills his stated mission to provide, as the preface promises, a new grammar for Black education. This book is an invaluable contribution to African American history and the history of education that will appeal to education researchers and a general audience.
Thank you so much. James Wc Pennington. Remember the name. He escaped from a Maryland plantation, then learned to read and write after he absconded. This fugitive slave became an abolitionist. He also became a teacher, in Connecticut. He also wrote the first Black authored school textbook in 1841. This fugitive slave and teacher and thinker represents the politics of Black education I chose to write about in my book, Fugitive Pedagogy, where African American teachers operated as scholars and practitioners, doers and thinkers, because of the tall task before them. Developing a model of education that would disrupt what James Wc Pennington called in his memoir, the chattel principle, that violent idea that certain people could be property. This was the tradition of Black teaching African Americans carried with them into the post-Civil War America. This was a tradition of teaching that cultivated generations of Black students to dream. This was a tradition that my own teachers in Compton, California, brought with them from their segregated education. They came from places like Grenada, Mississippi, Lake Providence, Louisiana, Mobile, Alabama, Hot Springs, Arkansas. They made me and my schoolmates recite Black poetry on the school ground every morning before we even entered the classroom. They compelled us to stand up straight, speak clearly, and use our words to search for visions of new worlds. Thankfully, Professors Naila Nasir and Janelle Scott welcomed me into their 2011 graduate seminar at UC Berkeley. They taught me to speak the names of scholars like James Anderson, Vanessa Siddle Walker, and the late William Watkins, whose scholarship together gave me what I needed to write the book about Black teachers' fugitive traditions being honored here today. I am so grateful to have been chosen to do the custodial work of clearing a path for their truth to have a hearing. Thank you.
The 2022 Review of Research Award.
The recipients of the 2022 Review of Research Award are Dr. Krista J. Porter and Dr. Janice A. Bird for their article, Understanding Influences of Development on Black Women's Success in U.S. Colleges, a Synthesis of Literature. This is in the December 2021 issue of the Review of Educational Research. Porter and Bird's manuscript illuminates how and to what extent Black women's developmental processes have influenced their success within their respective U.S. college environments. Their work presents a view that is much like a tapestry, carefully resisting reductionist explanations for success or non-success for Black college women. The authors skillfully bring together intersectionality and theories of identity development in higher education in a compelling way with more depth and nuance than prior works. Their focus on developmental processes is significant because it shifts how success is narrated and centers Black women's sensibilities and ways of knowing and being. The committee appreciated that this review was presented in a way that could be used across a variety of settings and domains in the field of education.
Our sincerest appreciation to AERA and RER for acknowledging this work. Thank you to our current institutions, Kent State and Penn State, who continue to support us and our work. It is an honor to win this award. This paper has truly been a labor of love
and dedication to research with and on behalf of Black women. We spent hours upon hours with each other reading and discussing articles, examining how folks write about Black women, reflecting on the broader discourse of Black women's success and identity development. We went through multiple rounds of feedback, back and forth with a particular journal editor who ultimately rejected our work. We then submitted to another outlet and pulled it because of the extended review period. So we decided to shoot our shot, and here we are. We give all glory to God, and we're grateful. To my amazing husband, Frank, our children, Ariel and Trey, my mom and twin sister, Crystal, your never-ending support has been absolutely necessary to my success. Thank you for lifting me up through it all. Our paper was published around the time my dad passed. I know he is smiling down on me.
And to my loving, supportive partner, Bo Long, my dad, my sisters, as well as my other mothers. My mom died when I was 11, and I'm here because of them, and I stand on their shoulders. To our mentors, sister scholars, mentees, all of those people, we are forever grateful for your company and this journey.
To Janice, thank you for being a thought partner and a friend turned family.
And I love you dearly, and thank you, Krista. We stand on the shoulders of everyone, and we thank you all for listening to our remarks. Take care. Thank you.
The 2022 Palmer O. Johnson Memorial Award.
The 2022 Palmer O. Johnson Memorial Award goes to Dr. Drew H. Gitomer, Dr. Jose Felipe Martinez, Dr. Dan Beatty, and Dr. Nora E. Highland for their article, Assessing the Assessment, Evidence of Reliability and Validity in the EdTPA, published in the February 2021 issue of American Educational Research Journal. This outstanding article explores the reliability and validity of the Educative Teacher Performance Assessment, or EdTPA, which is a system of standardized portfolio assessments commonly used in the process of certifying pre-service teachers. Drawing upon EdTPA's own published data, relevant literature, and widely adopted standards for educational and psychological testing, the author's persuasive argument raises serious questions about the EdTPA scoring design, reliability, and consequential impact, especially in relation to equity. Given the high-stakes nature of EdTPA for aspiring teachers and the pervasiveness of its use, these concerns have critical implications for teacher education policies and practices, as well as the reporting of psychometric data.
Well, we didn't see this one coming. We are very grateful to the Palmer O. Johnson Memorial Award Committee, to the AERJ editors and reviewers who both pushed us and ultimately accepted and published the article. Writing this piece was a very interesting experience, from the initial questions and premises and concerning findings to the unusual step of calling for a moratorium in usage of a prominent teacher performance assessment. Over the last decade, we've witnessed the frailty of our societal systems when basic and assumed norms are violated. One of the things we learned in doing this research is that our own institutions and professional organizations engaged in assessment, research, and policy are also poorly equipped to confront situations in which basic norms of professional and ethical concern are violated. While we often see the AERA, APA, and NCME standards of testing and measurement as the core statement of professional criteria of technical quality guiding our field, they've always functioned as standards of intent and even general aspiration, rather than as enforceable standards. In the broad scheme of things, we hope that our work will encourage our community to revisit this stance and put in the kinds of safeguards that can address the egregious practices we called out in our paper. Such safeguards are essential, not only as technical matter related to measurement accuracy, but also to ensure that our measures don't work to undermine equity and access in education, particularly for individuals from historically underrepresented groups, who, as a matter of course, experience disproportionately negative consequences of policies built on flawed measurements of quality. So thank you again. We are humbled and honored.
The 2022 Scholars of Color Early Career Contribution Award.
Dr. Crystal L. Williams is the recipient of the 2022 Scholars of Color in Education Early Career Contribution Award. Dr. Williams' research explores the use of public policies to promote college success for underrepresented students. Recently, her work has focused on broadening participation in STEM and reducing students' economic and academic strains in college. Dr. Williams' work has been funded by the AERA Grants Program and the National Science Foundation. A rising star in higher education, Dr. Williams was one of the 15 scholars featured as a 2021 Emerging Scholar by Diverse Issues in Higher Education.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. I am so honored to have this award. One of my favorite African proverbs says, if you want to go fast, then go alone. But if you want to go far, then go together. So with that in mind, I would like to acknowledge this as a collective honor. First, I want to thank my family, especially my parents, Anthony and Sharon Williams, who, oh, by the way, drove here all the way from Fort Worth, Texas, to support me, Mom and Dad. I definitely want to acknowledge that. I have the greatest family in the world. I also want to acknowledge my sister, Keena Hamilton, who was not able to be here. I also want to take the time to thank Dr. Ivory Tolson, Dr. LeVar Charleston, and Dr. William Smith for nominating me for this award and for your mentorship. I'd like to thank my undergraduate institution, Clark Atlanta University, for igniting my curiosity about HBCUs and Black student success in STEM areas. I want to thank the University of Michigan for helping me to develop my interest as a doctoral student, with a special thank you to Dr. Philip Bowman, who served as my major professor. I want to thank the University of Alabama for providing the foundation for my academic career, and my new colleagues at the University of Georgia for further supporting me in this work. And I would be remiss if I did not thank all of my collaborators and all of my academic family, you know who you are, as we continue on the scholar grind in conducting research about marginalized populations. This award is for all of us, because together we go far. Thank you so much.
The 2022 Scholars of Color Mid-Career Contribution Award.
Dr. Sonja Douglas Horsford is recognized with the 2022 Scholars of Color in Education Mid-Career Contribution Award. Dr. Douglas Horsford is one of the leading voices in education addressing educational equity and justice by bringing together community activists, educators, and scholars to engage in meaningful and substantive change. She is a senior research associate in the Edmund W. Gordon Institute for Urban and Minority Education and the founding director of the Black Education Research Collective. She is also the principal investigator for the New York City Education Equity Action Plan, P-12 Black Students Curriculum and Professional Development Program. Dr. Douglas Horsford has authored and co-authored 5 books and numerous articles and book chapters. Her interdisciplinary work and influence in the field has resulted in a greater understanding of the social and political context of education.
Good afternoon. This is pretty. I am deeply honored and excited to receive this award, and I want to thank my mentor and friend Linda C. Tillman, who nominated me for this recognition, as well as Carol Campiaki, Kenji Hakuda, and our beloved Professor Edmund W. Gordon for their expressions of support. And I, of course, want to thank those who selected me on the Scholars of Color in Education Committee, chaired by Monica Williams-Shealy. And I'd also like to recognize our president, Naila Nasir, for her leadership. I thank my colleagues at Teachers College, Columbia University, who have not only shown themselves to be wonderful thought partners, but individuals who have been supportive in ways beyond research and scholarship, and in ways that I will always cherish. I also want to give a very big shout out to the Black Education Research Collective, who is in the house, our advisory board, our staff and students who dedicate their time, their energy, and their passion to advancing Burke's emancipatory vision of education and hold me down in ways that have sustained me in ways for which I'll always be grateful. And to my parents, Gilbert and Kilchaw Douglas, my sister, Sandra Douglas Morgan, and my children, Benjamin Bryson and Ella, I love you. Thank you.
The 2022 Scholars of Color Distinguished Career Contribution Award.
Dr. Alfredo J. Artiles is the 2022 recipient of the Scholars of Color in Education Distinguished Career Contribution Award. Over nearly 3 decades, a hallmark of Dr. Artiles' career has been utilizing an interdisciplinary lens to understand the paradoxes of educational equity and their consequences regarding 2 justice challenges: the racialization of high incidence of mild disabilities and the design and implementation of inclusive education programs. From the beginning of his career, Dr. Artiles engaged in groundbreaking scholarship on disability and race, which is exemplified in his profoundly impactful 1994 co-authored article in the Journal of Special Education, which became the most cited article in the history of the flagship journal. Dr. Artiles has embraced complexity in his scholarship by utilizing interdisciplinary tools to reframe and refine the study of urgent social justice educational problems.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it. Everything we attain in life is always a collective accomplishment. And for that reason, I am deeply grateful to my family, first of all, for their love, unconditional support, and patience especially, and the encouragement that I received. Especially to my partner, Habibi, and our daughters, Antonella, Shari, and Javi, who have been a constant light in my life. I'm also grateful for the inspiration and learning I've received over the years from my students, former students, and collaborators. All of you continue to be a vital presence and energy in my life, and I will always be grateful for that. As I think about the award and I reflect on my career, I have to remember what is happening now in the US and around the world. We are living in an era of growing inequality, racial segregation, and decreasing opportunity. So critical questions come to mind. How can we leverage the power of education to counter these oppressive trends? What are researchers' roles in naming and addressing and changing these unjust conditions? The Committee on Scholars of Color in Education engages these questions deeply and has done it over the years. And for that reason, this recognition is very special for me. It brings me full circle also because the committee gave me an early career award over 2 decades ago, and I'm thankful for that. At the same time, it gives me encouragement to continue to advance my scholarship on what historian Henry Jack Steiker described as the state of affairs we called disability and its intersections. Thank you so much.
The 2022 Distinguished Contribution to Gender Equity in Education Research Award.
The recipient of the 2022 Distinguished Contributions to Gender Equity in Education Research Award is Dr. Kimberly A. Scott. Dr. Scott is a groundbreaking researcher and exceptional thought leader. Her scholarship has carved out new pathways for women and girls of color in STEM. Dr. Scott's research focuses on the ways in which gender and race intersect to shape the experiences of STEM learners in schools and in out-of-school learning communities. As a scholar activist who brings awareness to racial and gender justice in her research pursuits, Dr. Scott's conceptualization of girls of color as techno-social change agents is exemplary evidence of her visionary leadership and commitment to gender and racial equity in educational research and professional practice.
Thank you so much. I accept this award with a grateful servant's heart. I am truly humbled to stand among the other awardees who I consider giants. And I would like to thank a multitude of people for their patience, their grace, and their laughter, far more individuals than time allows. So let me say thanks to a few. Thank you, AERA, for this platform. Thank you, Doctors Tara Nkrumah and Rod Roscoe, for the nomination. I'd like to also thank my alma maters, Smith College, an all-women's college that put me on the path towards gender equity, and Rutgers University, where I earned my doctorate, allowing me to gain the language in order to articulate how best to navigate that path. I'd like to also thank my funders, particularly Arizona Community Foundation, that was the first to believe in me, and particularly the vision I had for creating a program for our girls that are not only about teaching technical skills, but also power skills. And lastly, I'd like to thank my parents, Doctors Beverly Dunstan Scott and James Scott. Although they've gone on to glory, I am so appreciative to them for not only teaching me who I am, but whose I am. I dedicate this award to every girl and boy of color who have been told they could not, should not, and will not succeed. We will, we should, and we will continue. Thank you.
Congratulations, Kimberly.
The 2022 Exemplary Contributions to Practice Engaged Research Award.
The 2022 Exemplary Contributions to Practice Engaged Research Award goes to Dr. Robin Zeptahola Minthorn. As a practice-engaged researcher whose work is steeped in social justice principles, Dr. Minthorn has advanced community-centered partnerships with tribal communities in the southwestern and Pacific Northwest regions of the U.S. Colleagues have lauded Dr. Minthorn's unwavering commitment to decolonizing educational leadership and centering Indigenous paradigms in ways that embody her notion of hard work. Together, Dr. Minthorn's communal praxis and groundbreaking scholarship in higher education have had transformative effects locally and within the academy at large.
Honde Onde, Papa Insane, Robin Ziptahola Menthor named Carr. I'm the granddaughter of Roxy Kodasit Sotai and Jacob Sherwood Sotai, Sr. I'm also the granddaughter of Antoinette Williams and Donald Williams. I am the daughter of David Williams and Rita Brewer. I am a citizen of the Kiowa tribe, and I'm a descendant of the Apache, Nez Perce, Umatilla, and Assiniboine tribes. I want to acknowledge the Kumeyaay, whose ancestral lands we are occupying and responsible to as we share in this space at AERA. I want to acknowledge the Spiyalashpa Puyallup, whose land I work, live, and am responsible to. I want to acknowledge the tribal communities I have been able to connect and build relationships with, and the Indigenous students I've had the honor to know over the years. I want to acknowledge the Puyallup, Muckleshoot, Acoma, Dene, Isleta, Laguna, Zuni, Zia, Jemez, Santo Domingo, Pewaukee, Cochiti, Santa Clara, and Mescalero who have had connections with. I know I, along with many others, are building on the legacy of many who have been in Indigenous education longer. I also want to acknowledge the ancestors we are uplifting in our heart work and the tribal communities who we are responsible to and tethered to. Minneahos and Katsiayo to the nominators, Dr. Christine Nelson, Dr. Natalie Youngbull, and Dr. Heather Shotton. I also want to acknowledge my partner, Gabe Minthorn, and Roxy Wachemius Kuskus Minthorn, who are today blessing the waters in the South Puget Sound. Bepede, don't give up, keep trying. I hope.
The 2022 Social Justice in Education Award.
The recipient of the 2022 Social Justice in Education Award is Dr. Tyrone C Howard. Dr. Howard is the faculty director for UCLA's Center for the Transformation of Schools, a member of the National Academy of Education, and a member of the laureate chapter of Kappa Delta Pi, whose membership is limited to 60 living educators who have made a significant and lasting impact on the profession. Dr. Howard has authored and co-authored over 40 peer-reviewed articles, 27 book chapters, and 5 books, including the bestseller, Why Race and Culture Matter in Schools, Closing the Achievement Gap in America's Classrooms, which is in its 2nd edition and published by Teachers College Press. In addition to training a generation of equity-minded teachers, scholars, and researchers, Dr. Howard's scholarship on the plight, potential, and resilience of African American male students is essential reading for individuals interested in this topic.
Good afternoon. I want to first start off by acknowledging my gratitude to American Educational Research Association for this award. I want to thank my nominator, my dear friend, colleague, Jim Banks. I also want to acknowledge the committee for its recognition for this award. I'm oftentimes reminded of why I do this work, and I've been very fortunate to have family be a big, big part of my existence, starting with my mother and father, who taught me that it was okay to stand up and stand up for what you believe in, and not be afraid to speak up when others weren't willing to do so. Also, I have a phenomenal family, my wife, Maisha, my 4 kids, Jabari, Jamila, Jelani, and Jalil, who also made sure that they are challenging us to always be the best we can be. I'm also someone who comes from a tremendous community of scholars, individuals who really poured in me in ways I cannot say thank you enough for. I mentioned Jim Banks, Geneva Gay, Gloria Latson Billings, the list goes on. When I think about justice, I'm reminded of the quote by Cornel West, who says, "Justice is what love looks like in public." And I've been fortunate to have those individuals in my life. My other brothers, Rich Milner, Sean Harper, Pedro Noguera, who have also helped me to think about justice. When I think about justice, I think about love. Love for opportunity, love for access, love for the human condition, and love for hope. I'm grateful for this award, but let me be frank, there is still a lot of work to be done. There are far too many young people who are not being adequately served by schools. There are far too many young people who are still searching for humanity in this world. So we still have to roll our sleeves up and be committed to doing that work. So I look forward to the day where there's not a need for a social justice award, because justice will be in the air that we breathe. Justice will be in the water that we drink. Justice will be an everyday act in our country. So I look forward to that day. Thank you so much.
The 2022 E.F. Lindquist Award.
The recipient of the 2022 E.F. Lindquist Award, presented jointly by AERA and ACT, is Dr. Daniel M. Koretz. His work on score inflation, the effects of testing programs on educational practice, the assessment of students with disabilities, international differences in the variability of student achievement, the application of value-added models to educational achievement, and the development of methods for validating scores under high-stakes conditions has notably advanced measurement and testing practices around the globe. Dr. Koretz is perhaps most widely known for his enduring contributions on test score inflation and self-monitoring assessments. He is a member of the National Academy of Education and a fellow of the American Educational Research Association.
The 2022 Outstanding Public Communication of Education Research Award.
The recipient of the 2022 Outstanding Public Communication of Education Research Award is Dr. Matthew A. Kraft. Using a multi-channel communications approach, Dr. Kraft goes beyond traditional outlets for scholarly work to share research relevant to K-12 teachers and teaching. This includes topics such as teacher evaluation, teacher coaching and tutoring, the need to decrease classroom interruptions, and the inequitable impact of teacher layoffs, all from the perspectives of research, policy, and practice. Dr. Kraft incorporates use of social media, conversations with practitioners and service deliverers, op-eds and articles in the popular and education press, as well as active partnerships with members of various stakeholder groups.
Thank you so much. I'm deeply honored to accept this award. When we think about communicating educational research, it may appear to be narrowly about punditry and social media, but nothing could be farther from the truth. Engaged scholarship starts with what we study, whether it matters to students, families, and educators. It is about conducting research in a way that brings people into the process, writing in a way that makes academic articles widely accessible, translating research to reach broader audiences. Then and only then can we engage effectively in the arena of public debate. This comes with risks, of course, public criticism of your work, personal attacks, and the reality that new evidence might change your own thinking. But despite these risks, we must engage. Doing so is the only way to change the world. I'd like to thank all those who have helped me along the way by paying forward their support. If you are interested in amplifying your scholarship to make a difference, but are unsure how to do so, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to help in any small way that I can. Thanks AERA and all my colleagues and mentors for this honor.
Congratulations, Matt.
Thank you.
The 2022 Excellence in Media Reporting on Education Research Award.
The recipient of the 2022 Excellence in Media Reporting on Education Research Award is Anya Kamenetz. Ms. Kaminet's reporting has raised awareness of how education research can change and shift our understanding of educational disparities. Specifically, her research-based reporting on the word gap challenged media reporters to stop referring to a word gap or the need to fix societal disparities by blaming children and families. Ms. Kamenetz has made noteworthy contributions to reporting on early childhood education, an area often neglected or underreported in major news publications. Additionally, she has covered the impact of COVID-19, achievement, opportunity, and financial gaps in education and education policy. She co-created and co-hosts NPR Life Kit, an evidence-based parenting podcast in partnership with Sesame Workshop, and has invited numerous education researchers as guest speakers and consultants on myriad topics. Ms. Kamenetz was a 2017 recipient of the Edward R. Murrow Award for Excellence in Innovation from the Radio Television Digital News Association and has received several awards from the Education Writers Association.
Hi, I'm Anya Kamenetz, and I want to thank you for this 2022 AERA Excellence in Media Reporting and Education Research Award. This award is a huge honor that represents what I most aspire to as a journalist. I really want to thank the members of this august association who share my passion for both learning and constructing new knowledge. For almost 2 decades, I've been exceptionally privileged to learn from hundreds of scholars like you who so generously share their research and to help share your discoveries in your questioning with the world. I'm also the daughter of 2 retired college professors, and I guess they're probably going to be the most proud of my receiving this award, so I thank you on their behalf as well.
The 2022 Early Career Award.
Dr. Nelson Flores is the 2022 recipient of the AERA Early Career Award. Dr. Flores elegantly engages complex theories to elucidate the ways that language practices in academia and beyond reinforce structural racism and neoliberalism in schools. His interrogation of bilingual education and anti-Black racism in language education offers new pathways to disrupt neoliberal frameworks and English hegemony in language education policy and practice. He is extremely well-deserving of this honor.
It's truly an honor and a privilege to receive this award. I don't only accept it for myself, I accept it for my former high school students who New York State called long-term English learners, despite the fact that they engaged in complex language practices across English and Spanish on a daily basis. Students who inspired me to develop the research agenda that I have developed. I also accept it for the many teachers I've had the good opportunity of working with who have fought against these deficit perspectives and are too often unsung heroes. I also accept it for the Latinx scholars who struggled and fought to open the doors that I have been able to walk through, with a special shout out to Ofelia Garcia, my dissertation advisor, who encouraged me to embrace my outsider status and see this as my biggest strength because of the unique perspective it gives me. I accept it for the bilingual education scholars who have typically had our research siloed away, with the assumption being that it doesn't have relevance for, quote, mainstream classes, even though bi and multilingualism is, in fact, the mainstream. I accept it for the emerging scholars who have found a voice for themselves within the ratio-linguistic perspective that I have created with my dear friend and colleague, Jonathan Rosa. And finally, I accept it in the name of my family, who have always been my biggest fans, even when they don't really understand what exactly I do. Saludos a mi marido y mis cuñados en México, que me están viendo virtualmente ahora. Les quiero mucho. Bilingualism rules and should be celebrated for all our students, not just those who are rich and white. Muchísimas gracias.
The 2022 Distinguished Public Service Award.
Dr. Peggy G. Carr is the 2022 recipient of the Distinguished Public Service Award. Dr. Carr has been a leading voice for data integrity, fairness, and equity in the curation and dissemination of education data. Throughout her longstanding federal government service, she has lent her expertise in statistics and measurement to drive innovation in data collection and assessment within the U.S. and globally. At the National Center for Educational Statistics, she has led efforts to transform the National Assessment of Educational Progress to adapt to new technologies while maintaining its rigor and quality. Her leadership around large-scale assessment is essential in closing the gaps in opportunity and achievement and advancing equity for all students.
Hello, I'm Ebony Walton from the National Center for Education Statistics. I am accepting this award on behalf of Dr. Carr, who sends her regards for not being able to attend in person. She is so thankful for receiving this award as she continues her public service as Commissioner of the National Center for Education Statistics. She checks so many boxes as being a first in her role, and she is particularly interested in supporting you all as we are continuing this conference's theme of cultivating equitable education systems for the 21st century. Thank you.
The 2022 Distinguished Contribution to Research in Education Award to William H. Schmidt.
The Distinguished Contributions to Research in Education Award is the premier acknowledgement of outstanding achievement and success in education research. Its purpose is to publicize, motivate, encourage, and suggest models for education research at its best. The 2022 Distinguished Contributions to Research in Education Award goes to Dr. William H. Schmidt. Dr. Schmidt is currently the Director for the Study of Curriculum Policy at Michigan State University. His many recognitions include being a Fellow in the International Academy of Education, an honorary doctorate from Concordia University, and being named a member of the National Academy of Education as well as an AERA Fellow. His strong line of funded research examines assessments of math and science nationally and internationally. Dr. Schmidt is best known for his detailed study of math curriculum across states in the U.S. and between countries internationally. A public intellectual as well, Dr. Schmidt has published beyond the academy, including prescient essays in outlets such as the Boston Review.
Wow, what an honor. And I am so thankful to AERA for this very distinguished award. One of the greatest recognitions a scholar can get for his or her work is the acknowledgement of his or her colleagues. And I thank all of you and AERA for this opportunity, which I humbly accept. I'd like to acknowledge some people that have contributed to this work over time. I first of all want to acknowledge my mentors at the University of Chicago, David Wiley and R. Darrell Bach, who taught me the difference between statistics and data analysis. I would also like to acknowledge the people who have worked with me for all these years. And the first name that comes to mind is Richard Wong, my friend, my buddy. I consider him my brother. He has been with me on all of these research projects and has been an incredible contributor to that work. I also wish to acknowledge Jim Taylor, who has since died, but he taught me what it takes to go from good research to be able to influence public policy and practice. And I also want to acknowledge the two women that over these years have essentially controlled the work that I have done. And not only that, but what is probably a much more difficult task, they have managed me, myself, as I go about various sundry directions. That is Jennifer Cady and Jacqueline Babcock. I also want to acknowledge my family, especially my wife, who has been a constant support of my work. And in fact, she's even contributed in taking my rather boring academic titles to articles and books and turning them into creative expressions that might attract somebody that wants to read it. I also want to acknowledge my children, Carrie, Kira, Ava, my three girls, and Jason, my son, who have had to endure the absence of their father for the various international studies, which always took me overseas. And finally, I want to acknowledge my parents, Emily and Henry Schmidt, which taught me and developed in me an understanding of human nature, a recognition of compassion, the ability to identify with others that are different than you, which has led into the research that is the focus of my work right now. Yes, it is about performance of students in mathematics, but it looks and recognizes that not only the home and family background can contribute to inequalities and performance, but schools who are designed to eliminate and give all children opportunities to succeed are failing, as the inequalities are contributed through the way in which opportunities to learn such things as mathematics are impacted by SES and race and ethnic background. So in other words, the schools which are designed to give children a better future often contribute, and my research suggests at least a third of the inequality in performance in math is attributable to schools themselves, since they let those opportunities be distributed inequitably according to background of the students. This, I hope, my research will eliminate and provide a better future for all children. Thank you again, AERA. What an honor.
Congratulations again. So that concludes our award ceremony. I want to extend my warmest appreciation for the awardees this afternoon. Your work has gotten you here, and we're proud to have you as colleagues.
So let's give one final round of applause for our awardees, for our field, for all of us who will continue to do this very important work. Enjoy the meeting, and we will see you at the next plenary.